Oh, well, hello there. So if you have not checked out the unboxing of this magnificent beast, I will leave a link somewhere in the video. Check that one out first because that's gonna have the actual specs of this thing, all the little knickknacks that it comes with. So I've not set this up for myself at all. That's what we're gonna do in this video. I'm gonna be doing a first impressions ride of this thing. Take that with a grain of salt because I do believe in order to give a true review of a bicycle, you need to spend a month on it, maybe more, before you can really know all the intricacies of how a bicycle rides. But before we get into setting this thing up for me, first things first, I made a mistake in my initial unboxing of this video. So that was, I kind of did that video right whenever the pandemic of 2020 first initiated, and it was pretty crazy around that time. I actually had to come in early to even build this thing. But the main thing I got wrong about this bike is that I said that it only had a left side power meter on it. I think this is almost a compliment to this bike. I did not see a power meter on the right hand side, so I just said, oh, well, that's kind of weird, but I didn't really look into it. My bad. Now, if we take a look at it, it's freaking slick because the last dual-sided power meter that Giant actually put on the 2019 TCR, it kind of looked like the Pioneer power meter. You know, it's got the little box on the outside, visible for everyone to see. So this one is not like that. It is tucked away behind the crank arm on the right side. So it is dual power meter. I tried to pin a comment on the last video so everyone knows that it's a dual power meter, but I did just want to clear that up before we set this thing up and took it for a spin. So to give a little background before I take this thing out for a spin, I have been riding I think it's a 2017 TCR Advanced SL KOM edition. It is a rim brake model, obviously. It's a few years old now. That has been my favorite bike I have ever ridden on the road. I'm in love with that bike. I tell everyone how much I think the TCR is an amazing bike. So I'm really curious where this one goes, but I did want to at least tell you what bike I'm riding currently so you kind of get where I'm coming from, because I'm going to be comparing it a lot to that bike. That's what I'm riding a lot of right now. Whenever I ride home, I'm probably going to link up with a group and at least see how it does in a little bit higher paced environment. But I'm excited to ride this thing. I mean, I think it is a beautiful bicycle. I'm still a little let down by the rosewood. I thought it would be a lot more a punch in the face with the color. Alright guys, so we are going to commute into the bike shop and then work a full day and then commute home, but on the way home we're going to ride with a few of my buddies and we're going to see what I think about this machine. So right off the bat, After my commute in, I can really tell you that this thing feels a lot like the TCR that I know and love, but better. I really can't say that it blew me out of the water, but like I said before, my favorite road bike that I've ever owned is my TCR Advanced SL rim brake KOM, and this feels like it should, a better version of that.
Think that bike's too small for you? I don't know. I'll tell you after the ride.
Oh, you got the TCR?
I rode it. I commuted it in this morning, so I mean my average speed for the commute was up a mile an hour.
What does it feel like compared to your old?
So we did go over the weight in the unboxing video, but in case you missed it, this thing is a light. It is also freaking stiff, which is a big thing for me. I have been on numerous bikes that weigh 14, 15 pounds, but they're not stiff. They feel like a wet noodle. The Cannondale Super 6, in my opinion, was notorious for this back in the day. They would have super light bikes, but I could flex the rear wheel from chainstay to chainstay, and I'm by no means a Pro Tour rider, so you should not be able to do that, in my opinion. But when I would stand up and pedal on the new TCR, you could immediately tell that it accelerates better than the previous generations. And I think a lot of that, in my opinion, has to do with the through axles and disc brakes, but you can't deny that this thing accelerates like a beast. So I know on the hills I was surging a little bit more than I'm proud to say, only because I'm not used to how well this thing actually does accelerate, and when I would stand up, it would shoot up the road. That takes a little bit of getting used to if you're not used to how stiff these through axles make a bike.
Flat bars. Is it working? Yeah.
One thing that I really did notice is that this particular TCR is definitely more aero and comes with a deeper set of wheels than my older one, and I did take notice. It not only was a little easier to get up to speed because of how stiff the bike was, but it was easier to hold said speed when I was on the front. The tube shapes on this thing are interesting looking, and I really think they made a big difference because my TCR, I love the thing. I think it is perfect for racing, especially when you're racing in like Cat 3 races, because, you know, the name of the game is just to sit in and save as much energy as possible, and then maybe win the sprint or sit in a breakaway. You know what I'm getting at. The TCR I'm on is perfect for that because it accelerates pretty quickly and it is very easy to sit in. Now this new one that I'm testing out, the disc brake one, I think you can really hit it on the front. It is a good mix of what the old Propel was, because I had a rim brake Propel at one point in time as well, and my current red TCR that I'm on. I felt like when I was on the front, once I would pull for 30 seconds, I felt like I could hold that same pace for 30 seconds more. So I am spoiled a little bit though because I'm used to my ISP bike, and I did notice that this bike wasn't quite as nice, you know, in the subtle bumps, the little stuff, the little vibrations in the road, and it was definitely missing that. Honestly, in my opinion, this new TCR rode the best out of any bike that I've ridden without an ISP, but if comfort's a big factor for you, then purchasing an ISP bike is definitely the way to go. ISP stands for Integrated Seat Post. So on my older TCR, that means when you buy the bike, you have to cut it down to your seat height. This one, you can just do the 4mm, move it where you want it, ready to go. One of the biggest negatives I think I can say about the bike though is honestly the cable routing. Where the cables went into the down tube, they kind of protruded out just enough to hit my legs every time I would stand and pedal. This could definitely be easily solved with a little shortening of the cables, but it's still a little annoying that it came this way from the factory. Felt like I had to ride bow-legged if I didn't want to hit them at all, so I ended up just hitting them every time I stood up and just dealt with it. I do also despise the saddle that the bike comes with. It just did not match with my rear end, and holy lord, was it uncomfortable. Like, I feel like my taint meat is bruised right now because of riding this thing. I do accept that the saddles will forever be a personal preference, and my preference is not to ride this one ever again. I'm going back to what I'm used to riding, which is the longer Giant saddles from past, or like a Physique. After a single ride, I can say that I do like this bike. I really think the best way to describe this machine is that if you have ridden any TCR in the past 10 years, you'll probably feel right at home on this latest iteration. It is lighter, stiffer, more aero than the previous generation that I currently own. And honestly, the negatives that I really noticed is only that it doesn't quite ride as nice as my older ISP bike, integrated seat post, which is to be expected in my opinion, and that the stock cable length on it was a little long and it kept hitting my freaking leg. And also that the saddle felt like a pineapple between my legs. I do not like that thing. But if that's the only negatives that I could really see after, 1 to 2 rides, then that just makes me excited to spend more time on this new TCR, because the longer I ride a bike, the more I get to know it and the more I feel like that I enjoy the bicycle itself. You kind of get all of its little intricacies.
Evening.
But I am excited to spend more time on this new TCR. But if you guys and gals have any specific questions, feel free to ask below. Also, if you like this kind of content, you can let me know by dropping a like and subscribing. As always, I hope everyone is staying safe, and I will see you all in the next one. And hopefully we might get to race. Later.
Up on, boy. Yeah, I gotta stop forward. Forward, average valve. Yeah. Oh, that's cheating. Go ahead, Cameron. Go right. See you, Tucker. Love you guys. See you, Tucker. Goodbye. Turn around. See ya. All right. All right, well, that was a fun group ride.